Episode 3, Ford and GM news. Well, we've covered a lot of it, but we'll just quickly cover what we did not. The Ford Escape. You had ordered one.
Yeah.
You had waited almost basically a year for one, and you canceled it. Your plug-in Escape was not coming in.
Yeah, we switched it for the Maverick then.
Yeah, and we switched it for the Maverick. Well, there were still problems with Ford Escape hybrid production. The 2023, they hadn't really started production. Now they finally have. They've worked out the programming problem. 2023 Escape production is online. It's so weird because we are April and we still haven't received a single 2023 Ford Escape, and the reason for that is there is an issue. They wanted to work it out.
That's a good news.
It's a bad and good news.
Good.
If I think back at GM transmission lawsuit. Why? Because they kept saying their transmission, their 8-speed, had no issues, when in reality it was hesitating, it was clunking, it was being problematic. Ford had that problem with their 10-speed, so did GM, but Ford, the difference is they spent the money in engineering to make a whole new program. So now if you have problems with your 10-speed transmission from 2018, 2019, there are decent chances you will find it there's a bit of a hesitation. Then when it does go into gear, it can pull forward a little bit. While at GM, they're still ignoring the problem, saying it doesn't exist. It's all on the client. It's just the client's imagination. Well, Ford they flash the entire memory when it comes to the transmissions program, and they put in a new programming, and it fixes everything. You go back to 2014, had been discovered that at GM, this was a case for the ignition for years. They knew about it, the ignition problem, that the keys where you put in the ignition. That it could lose contact and lose power on the vehicle. You could have an accident that people were getting killed, people were getting injured, and they continued to not fix it. So I kind of feel like if we were to look at production across different companies, so this is my news, it's just a general thought. I feel like if you work at Toyota and you say, hey, we've had the same parts for 15 years, we should really switch it. You probably almost get you kind of get told, that's not how things work here at Toyota. If it works, we don't change it. But it works. Toyota, they're very reliable. They work, but they've got old tech. They rarely change their mechanical parts. They rarely change their tech. It takes them forever to do so. And at GM, I feel if you say, hey, we've got a part here that's causing accidents, we've got a part here that's breaking, you probably also get told, no, we're not spending money on that. That's just how things work here at GM. And at Ford, if the same thing happens and hey, we've got something to fix here, we should change this. It's not working as well as it should. Well, Ford does change it, and very often. They change it so often that they're the king of recalls. They're constantly trying to make sure that the product is at a high level. That's why Fords cost a lot. Toyotas cost a lot because they're just very reliable. You have very few recalls because, well, they rarely ever change anything, but it works and they keep it for a long time. And then my joke for the day is at Dodge, I think the common is that it doesn't work and they also keep it for a really long time. The 5.7 liter V8 isn't all that reliable. It's decent, but it's not perfect, and they've had it around forever. Same thing for their transmission. Bad transmission, not great reliability, but they just keep it around. So that's what's going on for GM news. Well, GM news is that they are closing plants to control inventory 2 times. And the most recent one, they're saying it's not to control inventory, it's to convert the plant to more electric production. That plant in Mexico. I'm sorry, the dog is eating extra filming bowls, and we don't want that knocking over our film. So GM, they've got a plant closure. Again, it's the third one. 2 plant closures to control truck inventory, and the recent plant closure is about, according to them, creating more electric vehicles. So that's what's going on. Ford Escape, finally, 2023 Ford Escape production is going to be up and running, so we can finally get some 23 Escapes before you start expecting to maybe see some 24s get produced.